Don't even know who you're speaking.
Get busted.
All right, we'll start this meeting. A call to order, please. This meeting is being recorded visual, what do I want to say? Camera, audio. No, it's cameras actually recording this meeting. Probably not everybody, probably just our cameras probably just focusing on us, not on, I guess, I don't know. This is the first time we've done this, so if anything goes wrong, we'll just proceed on. Okay, well, first, everybody's got the waiver of public notice. It's been signed, I think, by members. We have minutes that were mailed to us from the June 9th meeting, of which 4 of us were present there at that date. Is anybody reviewed those meetings? Anybody have any corrections or additions to make to those minutes? If not, can I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So
Moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, any further discussion on the minutes? If not, all those in favor of approving the minutes as presented indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Okay, the minutes are approved. Our first order of business is a consideration of Belmont University asking for up to $142 million of bonds, some of which are, I think, a refunding of existing bonds and some new project going on the Belmont campus, of which I just passed by. And there's always construction going on in Belmont, but anyway, well, who's here to speak for us today?
Jason Rogers, now.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Steve Lashley, and we're coming to request $142 million in financing. For 100 of it would go toward the financing of a new residence hall, Caldwell Hall. It's approximately 600 beds. It's on Caldwell Avenue at 12th Avenue. It's all apartment style. With it, along with it, behind it is a parking garage in which we're going to add an addition to, a 500-car addition to provide for sufficient parking for the residents of this hall. This hall is currently underway. It's a $112 million project. We've paid, prior to our reimbursement resolution, about $12 million. We have about $100 million left, which we're going to use the bond proceeds for to complete the building. And the other portion of the request is for $42 million to refund a 2012 Public Series issue that we have done through Health and Ed Board, and to reissue those bonds because they're callable at this point.
So this building's under construction now. So
This building's under construction right now.
it's about
It's about 5 or 6 with the frame. It's a concrete frame building.
I wanted to ask, I know you claim you get students from all 50 states, so maybe not the students from Hawaii, but does every student generally bring a car with them?
No, Jason can fill in on the percentages.
Jason Rogers, I'm Vice President of Administration and University Council at Belmont. One of my responsibilities is Office of Campus Security on the administrative side, which handles our parking. So on average, our residential students bring cars at a rate of about 65%. Of the students bring their cars to campus. That's a mix of slightly less than 50% of our freshmen and closer to 70-75% of our upperclassmen. We have more freshmen on campus than we do upperclassmen. So we have been able to manage the parking demand very well over the last several years as we were able to build out the other parking garages. This one, because of its location, demanded more adjacent parking than we were able to provide. So that's why we're adding the 500 cars at that location.
Because we've recently opened 800 car garage on Belmont Boulevard that had really only the concert hall, which would be sporadic use to park there. And so we have a surplus of parking on campus right now.
Do you offer any incentive for students to, like bus passes or anything that would enable students to transport without having a car?
Yes, we do. We participate in the MTA WeGo's Easy Ride program. So all Belmont students and employees are able to board an MTA bus free of charge to them by swiping their Belmont ID and Belmont gets the bill. So we incentivize the use of that. Until a few months ago, we had short-term hourly rental cars, but pre-pandemic, I said a few months ago, it was before the pandemic. You know how that is.
Like 2 years ago.
Enterprise, which ran the program, pulled it because it wasn't making any money anymore because of Uber and Lyft. And so Uber and Lyft, as you might imagine, are quite active on campus at plugging the one element of the need for transportation.
Transactional.
And then, of course, pre-COVID, we had scooters. And I see more of them downtown now. I'm sure they're making their way back out to our part of town.
There was a sort of a problem one time, wasn't it, on your campus? And
We had a significant
there and
problem with scooter. We worked with each of the scooter companies and were able to negotiate with them to apply that technical overlay where the scooter, when it hits the boundary of the overlay, it just dies. So that prevents people from
Bringing them on to
going
campus.
17 miles an hour down a sidewalk when classes are being changed. And so we were able to address that and worked well with those folks. And I think there's been some culling of that industry during the pandemic, and with the new legislation that was adopted pre-pandemic, that should significantly limit the problem, which is the hundreds and hundreds of scooters that we were seeing everywhere.
What's the capacity of the current parking structure that's there that you're adding on to? And then are these designated for a specific sophomore and up, or like are freshmen allowed to live here? Like,
These are upper class. These would be sophomore and up. And Thurl is 550 at the moment, and we're putting 500 more onto it.
Yeah.
So it'd be 1,050. It's fine.
Are you building on top of it?
No, we tore down an apartment building. There was one of those gray apartments that you can see from 12th Avenue. We took that building 6 down and used that area to expand it. And we're going to, in that particular case, we're going to also top the whole garage with solar panels, so that the solar panels will provide for the electrical needs of the facility. To try to
Kind
be a
of
little green.
part of my question here, but is this development to add capacity or to replace capacity from a dorm you're taking offline, or
Add capacity.
Okay.
So we'll end up with, we currently have the capacity for 60% of our undergraduates to live on campus, and this will help us bump that up. And we only house undergraduates on campus. We don't have graduate student housing. And graduates comprise about 20% of our total population, graduate students.
Do freshmen have designated separate dorm, a special housing?
They primarily are in the older dorms on the older part of campus, and the suite-style dorms, which are on the periphery of 15th Avenue on the east side. Thurl Hall, which is in front of this garage, it's a freshman dorm, and then Russell Hall, which is on 15th Avenue, it's primarily, and then Kennedy Hall and Maddox Hall that are owned. They're older. They're much older. They're all freshmen.
Is this a co-ed hall?
What hall?
Co-ed?
Your dorm's co-ed.
Oh, yes.
Co-ed in the sense that we have separate gender by floor, but there's
Not
mixed
mixed gender within the rooms.
men and women. Yeah.
So, and is there a premium for those top floors?
Yes. Because that, the dormers, these are not floor, that's not a floor. There's a stairwell. This is the floor ends, the top floor
Right.
here.
Right.
And then there's a stairwell, a spiral stairwell that goes up, and there's like a little den that you can sit up there and look at the airport. I think that's, I know you can see the airport from the top of it. And I guess you can see downtown
Yeah.
to the north.
Okay, so we're just asking for preliminary approval here today, and which we'll have a public hearing here in just a minute. And so part of these funds are going to finance this construction or completion of this.
100 million.
And then others is refunding of existing bonds.
Yes.
And we'll do both of those at a future meeting when you all come back to us then.
Right.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to ask if there's anyone here who wishes to have a public hearing. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak for or against this proposal? I'm not seeing anyone who wishes to speak, so we will close the public hearing. Any of the board members have anything further questions? We do have a resolution in our packet that was sent to us that authorizes a slight preliminary approval to proceed with this sort of inducement letter with this project. Do we have a motion to approve the resolution as presented?
I move approval.
Move approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of the resolution indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. No opposed. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck. Thank you.
Anything on schedule as construction-wise?
Yes, sir.
Everything's on schedule.
And those would be used next fall, I guess, right?
Yes, next fall they'll be completed. Thank you.
Okay, the next matter before us is Chippington Towers, which is a limited partnership that's asking for final approval. We gave preliminary approval to these several months ago to issue bonds for the purchase and rehabbing of existing 2 towers out in Madison area. Who's here for Chippington?
Hey, my name is Jay Moneyhunt. I'm with Fastberry and Sims, and we're serving as bond counsel for this financing. This is Mike Rogers with LHP Capital, who's developing and rehabbing the facility. We're here back in front of this board to ask for final approval for the tax-exempt bond financing. I'm happy to answer any questions about the financing of circulated drafts of the bond documents to Ms. Barnett, and she's reviewed them. Happy to discuss anything about the structure, questions you may have on that, and Mike is here to give a little summary of the project and answer any questions you have about that.
Hello, thanks for having me. So Chippington Towers are actually 2 11-story high-rise buildings in Madison off Gallatin Pike, a few miles north of downtown. Built in the late 1970s, they've always been affordable housing for low-income elderly folk. They are affordable by virtue of rental assistance from HUD to the Section 8 program. They underwent light rehabs maybe 15 years ago, in part with proceeds from THDA, tax-exempt bonds, and tax credits. Now that the buildings are 40 years old, they are in need of major rehab, so that is what this transaction contemplates. We look to close on the purchase of the properties and start rehab as soon as October of this year. We have tax-exempt bond and tax credit allocations from THDA. In conjunction with those, we'll agree to extend the current affordability at the properties for another 30 years. We are also going to renew the Section 8 HAP contracts with HUD for another 20 years. That's the primary means by which the apartments are affordable to the residents. There really won't be any stone left unturned with these rehabs. When we're finished, the properties will be like new, both inside and out. The residents will not bear any increase whatsoever to their rent, and no residents will be asked to leave the property permanently. We hope that during the rehab, we'll just be able to work with the residents to move them from their current unit into a vacant unit of the property while their unit gets rehabbed, and then they can move back to their current unit or stay in the unit they moved to. There's some off chance that if we don't have enough room to accommodate that a resident may have to go into a hotel room for a few weeks while their property is being rehabbed, but then they can return to the unit when we're finished. So
am I hearing that it's a phased development, so you're going to do it in phases, or you're going to do it all at once and try to accommodate people?
So we'll start at one building, do a couple floors there. Once those couple floors are done, We'll get a couple floors going at each building. That'll be the majority of the project. And then at the very end, in that second building, there'll just be a couple floors to finish off. But by and large, we'll have 2 floors going at a time.
And do you have 100% occupancy right now?
It's usually almost 100% occupied. Going back to earlier this year in anticipation of the rehab, we stopped leasing units to start creating vacant units to accommodate the rehab. So right now, occupancy is in about the low 80% range.
So how confident are you that a family who needs to vacate will have a place in the unit versus a hotel?
Very confident. I think we have just about all the units we need for that at present, and then we won't hit the full capacity in terms of need until a few months into the rehab, just because we'll start with maybe only 10% of the units under rehab at first, and then we'll kind of graduate to 20%.
And in the unlikely event that someone, and it sounds like you have a plan for this, goes to a hotel, is it within the same school zone, walking distance from where people are located now?
It's all those things. It's trying to keep them as close as possible, minimize any disruption, and the key is in a like-kind unit that would have a kitchen facility.
It's senior housing, so a lot of it's single, individual, over people, mostly women, but there's some men there.
And what hotel would someone be housed in?
I would have to check on that. We have a relocation specialist that would spend the entire rehab working with every single resident on their move, whether, in the likely event it's on site, and then on the off chance it's off site, they would work hand in hand with finding them a suitable hotel.
And if I were a resident there and maybe had some breathing difficulties during construction, are there things that are mitigating that in terms of keeping the air clean for residents?
Yes, so the any area where there's construction ongoing would, to the greatest extent possible, just be sealed off, and just the residents would not interact with that.
Does your team move the resident out and then back into their new place, or is the burden on them to?
No, there's no financial burden in any way would be on any resident. So we would work with a moving company and pay the moving company to help the resident move.
What's the estimated amount of time a resident could be displaced based on your construction schedule?
5 weeks.
Okay.
And what kind of guarantee do you have from HUD about extending the HAP contract?
We have that approved.
You already
So
have that approved.
yeah, closing, we'll execute that contract.
20 years, did you say?
Yes, sir.
Still, resident pays 30%
Yes, sir.
of their income for rent, and HUD makes up the difference.
Yes, sir.
What are the rents on the market for,
So
the rents right now for the units?
if there were not assistance from HUD, so, well,
I mean, you get,
Yeah.
owner gets whatever the rent is. But
yeah, the total rent right now is just over $1,000 a month.
Okay. So you're ready for final approval. I had a question, but it's escaped me now. I can't keep my mind on it. All right. We have a resolution before us. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution?
So moved.
Moved. Is there a second? Second. Is there further discussion or questions? If not, all those in favor of the resolution indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Resolution is adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it.
The next matter before us is Richland Hills apartment project, which is, again, had a preliminary approval from us and asking for $26 million in bonds. And I think this is also a rehab. Am I correct?
To be correct. I guess my name is Gavin Taylor. I'm here with Vitus, the proposed developer of Richland Hills Housing Partners.
What's the company's name again?
Vitus, we're a Seattle-based developer. We've done over 100 properties in 26 states at this point. We specialize in acquisition rehabs just like this for Richland Hills Apartments, in which we come in and we buy existing buildings, and utilizing the 4% housing tax credit, we complete substantial renovations to these buildings. And would you guys like a brief summary on the project? So Richland Hills is a 201-unit apartment complex located in West Nashville in the Sylvan Park neighborhood. It is comprised of 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units with their primary, the primary units are 2-bedroom units, roughly 120 of the 201 units. Families are the prevailing demographic in the area, and 69% of the 201 units are covered by a Section 8 HAB contract, with the remaining non-Section 8 units under an AMI restriction of 80%. Like the previous development, at our proposed closing in October, that contract will be renewed and extended for an additional 20 years. The project was originally built in 1970, and although it did have a moderate rehab in 2016, this rehab focused primarily on these non-Section 8 units. So our goal here with this rehab is to really come in and bring these existing Section 8 units up to similar levels of quality as the non-Section 8 units, in addition to handling larger scale capital expenditures such as roofing, downspouts, shingles, gutters, exterior lighting and doors, and then we'd also do parking lot and concrete repair throughout the site as needed. For interior renovations, we'd be utilizing a unit matrix that has been constructed by our GC and our architect on the project, and this would include repairing the floors, walls, doors, kitchen and bathroom countertops and fixtures, as well as flooring and appliances. And currently that's projected at roughly $6 million, so just under $30,000 a unit in hard costs. Vitus does have previous experience in Tennessee as an affordable housing developer. Last year we completed construction on a project in Chattanooga, Ridgeway Apartments, and just last month we finished construction on Meadowood Apartments in Alcoa, Tennessee. And yeah, that's what I have for you guys today. If any questions?
What are the unit rates?
What was that?
The rate cost, how much does it cost per unit for the units that are at 80% AMI?
The rent units for the 80% AMI is, I believe it's $880, $980, and then $1,050 is the current projections for the 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
And then for the Section 8 units, it is a little bit higher. As mentioned prior, it is under that 30% of the income of the unit that would be paid towards that rent. And we do already have approval from HUD for those rents in place. So just depending on when we nail down our closing date, which we're projecting for October 29th, I believe, is that final Friday. We would communicate with HUD to generate that new 20-year HAP contract beginning November 1.
How has the increase in building supply costs impacted your $30,000 per unit? Like if you had done this 2 years ago, would you have budgeted a lower amount in cost based on the change in building material costs?
I mean, there's certainly been some increase in building costs. There are cost restrictions just due to I guess the purchase price of the project. Just Nashville is a very hot area right now, so that's a primary factor driving costs. But in addition to that $30K a door in hard costs we're projecting, we have roughly 10% of construction contingency allocated to that sum as well, and that is partially to deal with material costs, and then generally on our other projects we communicate with management, and generally we will hold a tenant meeting prior to construction too, just for some of their wish list items as well. Say the property may need security cameras, or the community space is lacking in this aspect, then we would use those contingency funds to handle those requests. But yeah, the material increases will be handled appropriately.
So I understand that you said in 2016 you had a moderate rehab that it did not include the Section 8 units, and so that's what the focus is for this.
So the previous developer and current owner, they did do a moderate rehab in 2016. I I would have to get back to my computer and get those documents to just let you know what unit received what kind of rehab. But yes, it was primarily centered around the non-Section 8 units. That's not to say that the Section 8 units received no upgrades at all, but it was primarily geared to that just because of how the rent increase works, especially for those non-Section 8 units.
How many are Section 8? 69?
I believe it's 138 out of 201 units.
So is this made up of several buildings?
Yes.
And so are the Section 8 units in specific buildings that you identify?
No, they are intermingled throughout the buildings. There is no separation of Section 8 and non-Section 8.
I'm kind of missing the online version of these meetings because we had nice little visuals that we could see on a map where these things were. Can you help me? I live in that area and I'm not familiar with this street at all. Can you tell me relative to like Charlotte Pike where this is located?
You're not from Nashville, so I don't know if he knows the name.
Let's look it up. Let's look it up.
Okay, you're not, all right, okay.
200 Modena. Here we go. 5 miles from here.
So I think it's near Sylvan Murphy Road. And
Oh, it says 48th in Nevada.
Okay, all right, okay.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. It'll be $1. Says 26 million and one, please. Sorry.
you amend the resolution. Well, we do have a resolution to approve this project before us. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution?
So moved.
There is a move. Is there a second? Second. Okay. Any further questions, discussion? Who is the owner of this property right now? Do you know?
I believe the legal entity is GHC Investors LP, and they've owned the project for, I want to say, over 15 years.
How old is this project?
Built in 1970.
52 years. All right. Any further questions, discussions? If not, let's vote on the resolution. All those in favor of the resolution indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Resolution is adopted. Good luck with the project.
Wonderful. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
The next matter before us is Shelby House Apartments project, which I believe is a new construction project on over in East Nashville, across the river here on 4th Street. And who do we have representing them? Okay. Brent.
Howdy. First off, thank you so much for your time, your service today, and being here and taking time out of your day. Good to be back. My name is Evan Holliday. I'm with Holiday Ventures. And today we're going to talk about, we came in front of the board virtually. Good to see everybody in person. Back in December of 2020 to talk about this project preliminarily. And we are now at the point where we're getting toward closing, like the two projects before us, and we are likely closing in October of this year. So very exciting. I also have with me Ms. Dina Crossley, who is the executive director of Samaritan Recovery Community, who is our nonprofit partner. It had been asked to have a representative from SRC. So I think if it's all right with you all, I can give just a quick summary and then have her dive into what SRC does and her experience there and tell you a little bit more detail. So Shelby House it's called Shelby House in partnership with Samaritan Recovery Community. It's been about 2 years in the works. I remember we first started talking about this in August of 2019. So it's come a long way. Gone through many iterations and many versions of this, but we're really excited about this because we will be building a brand new facility that will more than double the square footage and service capacity of Samaritan Recovery Community. They currently own and operate on the site. It's just over the bridge, right when you're getting into East Nashville, the Shelby Street Bridge over the highway interchange right there. And really we're looking at a way to help SRC really expand their services and be able to modernize and upgrade their facilities. They've been in some buildings there that have been there since a very long time.
Over 100 years.
Yeah. So being able to partner with a really phenomenal group like SRC that provides substance abuse recovery services and has been doing so since 1964, and right next to that be able to provide 195 new construction affordable workforce housing units. So that will be studios, 1s and 2 bedrooms, and that will also include a parking garage as well. So I'll let Ms. Dina take it from there and tell you a little bit about SRC and the work they do.
Yeah, if I start talking too long, just somebody go stop, then I can stop. But thank you so much for seeing us today and letting us come before this this meeting. So Samaritan, I've been at Samaritan since 1996, so I've been there a good number of however many years it's been there, since 1964. And we provide quality substance abuse treatment services to people who are either uninsured or underinsured. It's mostly people that have burnt all their bridges. You know, they don't have any insurance left. Their friends and family are just said, hey, we're done. But we provide excellent services. We have a 28-day to 30-day intensive residential program. And so at that program, the people come in and they're pretty much sequestered there. It's not a locked facility. So if they say, hey, I'm out of here, it's like, okay, sorry. But, they can't just come and go. And so they stay there for those 28 days. And they have 10 hours of group sessions a week, 15 hours of classes a week. They go to AA meetings. They see a psychiatrist if they need to. We send them out to like United Neighborhood Health or Mental Health Co-op. We partner with those agencies. We also provide some MAT treatment for, as you all probably know, the opioid crisis is it's almost as bad as that pandemic right now. So we can help people with Vivitrol or buprenorphine if that's needed. Then once the people graduate the residential program, we also have a transitional living program on the site, and that is a 90-day program where people, they go out and work during the day. They get they become citizens and, taxpayers and pay back child support and legal fees, and, they get their feet back on the ground, and that's a 90-day program, and they pay their own treatment fees there. But then we have grants that help provide for their room and board and that kind of thing. A lot of the people, after they're done there, they go off to their own homes and get their own apartments. That's one of the reasons we're really excited to partner with Evan, because they will now have access to affordable housing. They will be able to make a direct shoot right to affordable housing. We also have intensive outpatient programs where people come for 9 hours a week, so it'd be like 3 days for 3 hours. Those are people that they're not quite as sick as the people that are in the residential program. Sometimes people in the residential might, instead of go to the halfway house, maybe they live nearby, maybe they live in East Nashville, West Nashville, somewhere nearby, and they just need to go to intensive outpatient after they're done with the residential program. So we've got that. That generally lasts about 24 sessions. So that's, about 3 months, something like that. And then we also have, for our people that are on the MAT, the medically assisted treatment, they can still come to outpatient treatment for up to 2 years after they complete that. After they've completed their intensive outpatient. Because we've learned that the longer that you can keep people engaged with treatment services and support services, the more likely they are to complete treatment and continue on with their recovery. And then we also have a supported housing apartments. There's 18 apartments and 36 beds. Those are for people that maybe once they're done with transitional living, if they don't quite have somewhere yet to go, they don't quite have a plan, they can stay there for 18 months. And they just attend one group a week, and then some of those go on to buy their own homes or do their own thing after that. So we're real excited to partner. I think this is going to be like kind of one of the finishing pieces, is that not only can we have temporary housing for people in recovery, we can also have a gateway to affordable housing for those that need it.
So a couple questions, and I remember the first discussion around the project, but maybe just to kind of clarify a couple things. Will all of the units be dedicated to participants in your program, or will it be kind of a mix where some are available to the community and some available to participants?
Exactly. It'll be a mix.
Okay.
Yes. Now we do our clients that are that would be in the program, they would have the first option. It'd be kind of a first come first serve.
Okay.
But so.
So would you have a certain number of units just kind of dedicated off to the side for this particular group?
Yes, so we have 25% of the units that we have a HAP contract with MDHA that's been approved, and that will allow for, similar to the other projects, it will allow for residents to be able to pay only 30% of their monthly income, but those are units that we are, if we have residents, graduates from transitional living and from SRC, they would move into affordable units.
So the others would be market rate? Or?
No, they would range from 60 to 80% AMI, so they'd all be affordable.
And what is 60 to 80% of AMI right now, do you know?
It depends on the family size, but for a family of 4, I believe 60 is about around 60,000. 80% AMI is roughly about 76,000, so 60 to 76,000 for a family of 4, which doesn't get you very far in Nashville, unfortunately.
No.
So these units they can purchase for the rentals? Rents.
All for rent.
Okay.
So Dina, when this was first presented, I was thinking about sort of the pressures of gentrification on the area, and my fear was that somehow we could lose this incredible, work of ministry that you're doing through this, very ambitious development project. So can you say a little bit about how we can have confidence that no, the mission continues. It's built into your relationship, I suppose, at some level. We'd like to hear maybe A. And then B, how did you land on Evan as the partner? How did that relationship come about?
So I have to say that Evan might be able to explain better how we got into that relationship, but I do know our board president was familiar with Aaron White, who he's into real estate, and our board president's into real estate, and he was just trying to figure out some way that we could get a new facility on our property and leverage the property that we have.
So the initiative started with your board, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Completely started with our board.
And you own this property now, currently?
Yes.
That they're going to build these units on? So
Yes.
Are you leasing, how's the arrangement, leasing property, or are you?
Yes, so our arrangement with SRC is they're gaining the brand new facility, double the square footage, free and clear. So there's no debt on that. That was very important to SRC, was they don't have any debt now. They don't want any debt going in the future. And then they also get part ownership in, this will be phase 1, and then we'll also do a phase 2, which phase 2 we're looking at doing a mixed income pilot, which Metro Council still has to vote and approve that. But if they do, then that would likely be the path we would choose. That way we could serve basically the next step up, so we could have from 0% AMI all the way to market rate units all in the same block.
So SRC owns the land and the building right now. And are there any protections in your charter or your governance that when Oracle comes knocking, you won't be tempted to sell?
Oh, we're not selling. No. One of the things is that the board president said, "Ooh, maybe we should have waited a little while before we went into this," and the whole board is like, "No, absolutely not. We made the right decision because we're going to be able to keep." One of the key things that we wanted to do was be able to keep the facility property in that footprint because it's got, our clients have easy access to downtown. They're right on the bus route. There's jobs available all around. So it was imperative to us that we stay right there on that footprint. I mean, we've been there for so long, and we don't want to leave it.
I'm just thinking about the Monroe Harding example and just wondering how much pressure is going to be applied. Thank you.
Haven't been any yet, so.
And so this is phase one, and this is going to be 201, no, how many units are you going to build?
195 units.
195, and then phase two would be?
Roughly around 281 as of now.
And you said, what is the Metro Council, what have they got to approve?
They are currently working on a mixed income non-tax credit pilot program where it would basically be serving individuals from 80 to 100% MI. So it's basically serving those that are in the working class family that aren't served by tax credit funded projects. So I think there's a huge need for that middle income workforce housing, but there's no financing, so they've made an initiative to, I think Councilmember Berkeley Allen has brought that forward. So I think it's still in negotiations, but if they do pass it, that would be the best.
This project you're doing now has the tax credits from THDA, is that
correct?
Right?
We have tax credits and bonds approved.
Right. This other one, which would be somewhat higher incomes, would not qualify for that program, so you're trying to get Metro to give you some kind of tax
abatement.
Abatement from the property tax or something. You don't pay property tax now, or you're nonprofit, you don't pay any property tax, right? So would that continue? I don't know how that would.
That would continue on SRC's building.
I mean, but the apartment that you're building or whatever, is that going to be?
It will for the first 10 years because we're working with Metro and MDHA on the affordable housing pilot, but after that it would go back on the tax roll.
So am I understanding this correctly, that you're not going to own a building together? You're going to have a building, and then you're going to build a second building that you're going to own?
That we will
but it's going to be
jointly.
that you own jointly?
Yep.
Okay.
They're
On their
partner,
property that they own?
A partner with a new one. You got existing, how many buildings are on your property now?
Right now, we've got, let's see, there's 4, 5, let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the building, on the property right now. Yeah.
Buildings, and this is going to be another. How high is this building going to be?
That'll be 5 stories.
5 stories. What's the highest building there now?
2.
2. Yeah. So.
Is there anybody currently living in the building that's going to get redeveloped?
So like our programs, that's the very cool part about this, that it's made it very complicated, is we said we can't do this if we would have to stop our programs. Right. So our programs will continue to go, and it's kind of convoluted how we're going to build around it. So as soon as our new building is built, then we'll move in, and then they'll take care of the demolition for the rest of the public.
So there won't be any displacement of.
This is replacing some
totally replacing
existing housing.
Yeah, because like some of the places we have, we've got like this old, I mean, it's just constant repair because, it's so old. And, those clay pipes, you're constantly having to have backhoes come in and replace clay pipes and boilers. And
so how many, this is part of the living units you have now. How many is that?
So we got 36 beds for our residential program. We have 30 beds in our halfway house, and then we have the people for IOP. They don't spend the night. We just have various IOP groups that come in, and then there's 36 people in, or 36 apartment units.
So that'll all be demolished once the new structure is. Mm-hmm. So this is replacing those. Okay.
And then within phase 2 go on.
That's correct. Mm-hmm. So they're occupying 90% of their services in phase 2's footprint. So we're basically building everything in phase 1 outside of that so they can continue. As like Dina said, that was probably priority number 1 for SRC because
we can not stop it.
So will there be space in this building for meetings and things too, or?
Yeah, there's going to be conference room space. There's, but it's not like conference room that we're going to rent out, but it's space that we can use with our clients. And
Client meetings and things?
yes, absolutely. There'd be the group rooms, their bedrooms, their office space, dining room, and new
Counselor rooms.
counselors.
Dining
Yeah.
room, well, you serve, that's right. I mean, these people study, you serve meals so that you can.
Yeah, it's like a full service.
So this is going to house people that are in the like right now, that are in the recovery program, would be in these units, as well as people who, almost like 2 or 3.
So our building, the Samaritan building that's going to be built, that will have just the treatment programs. So that'll have our IOP. So right now we're kind of scattered about in those 7 buildings on the property. So it's going to put us all in one building. So like one floor will be administration, the next floor will be like the group rooms, the nurse's office, the dining room, the kitchen. Then the floor up will be where the residents live. Like, so the residential program, that's 28 days, that'll be above 1, and then the apartments next, and then the halfway house up above. And then we have like a courtyard in the back. And then, so that will be completely separate from the apartments that we own together. There'll be privacy, confidentiality. Nobody will be able to.
Separate from rental apartments?
Correct.
Completely separate.
Yeah, that was my concern, was figuring that out, of it being separate from those who are going through recovery, or, so.
Yeah, we've gone through great pains to make sure confidentiality, security. Yeah, it has been a long process trying to figure it out.
But people moving there will know they're living next door to a recovery operations center.
But the way it's beautiful, how, I don't know if y'all have seen the pictures on how it's designed, it will reduce the stigma for the people that are in the recovery property, because it doesn't look any different than the other buildings. And then they also have the option, if they want to apply, to go into one of those, the joint property, they can. But that's what I thought was so cool, is because it fits into, kind of the modern look, and where they'll be getting their treatment doesn't look like an old rundown place. It looks just as nice as
Do you have a waiting list for your program?
We always have a waiting list. We have 36 beds for the residential program, and we oftentimes get anywhere, the highest number of calls we got for those beds in 1 month was 450.
Wow.
What would be another program in Nashville, Davidson County that would be comparable to yours?
The next door, it's kind of off Charlotte. Let's see, Renewal House, but that focuses just for men. Cumberland Heights is similar, except for I think they're part nonprofit and part profit. I'm not sure exactly how they're arranged, but those are Buffalo Valley. I think you might have heard of them. But we need the beds. I mean, we need the bed space for people.
Nina, tell them what you told me about the people at the state.
Oh, yes. So I met with the deputy commissioner for the Department of Substance Abuse Services, and then some of the people that work with her, Linda McCorkle and Taryn Sloss, and I just kind of let them know, hey, we're doing this. There'll be a public announcement in the next few weeks, and they were just elated, because they said, we do not have enough adult beds in Middle Tennessee for substance abuse treatment. And so we'll be having a meeting with them too, just to figure out what other services might we be able to provide in that facility for people. So I'm just really excited about the impact that we can make for substance abuse with this new building with double the capacity.
You get state funding?
Oh, yes. 90%. I would say 85 to 90% of our funding is grant-based, and 15% is TennCare.
And grants from?
From the state grants, legal grants, and a couple of new federal grants that have just come on because of COVID.
So
So with doubling the capacity, will you be going to a 72-bed facility? Did I miss that?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, 72 beds just for the residential.
But doubling the other capacity.
Yeah,
as well.
everything will double. Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. We're having a strategic plan this fall to figure out, okay, we've been working like this.
Some other
Like,
changes.
this is going to be different.
Yeah.
You know, so we better get on this. So.
Absolutely.
Okay, we have a resolution again before us to approve this project. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution?
So moved.
It's moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Further discussion or questions? If not, all those in favor of the resolution indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your
We
time.
anticipate getting underway with this project.
Likely middle of October right now.
I occasionally have been invited to groundbreakings, but you might consider inviting
Yes.
board members to groundbreakings.
You all are already on the list.
Interesting project. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you again.
Okay, so do we have any old business that anybody has? I don't think. Do we have any new business that, maybe Cindy, you want to give us an expectation of what we can expect coming down the road?
Yes, let me go ahead and mention, I've received a call from Vanderbilt Medical Center who has their existing debt with the board, and they would like to come to the board late September and present what their plans are. Belmont has also requested, they think they'll be ready to come back for a final approval on their new dormitories and parking by the end of September also, so I would think we would be combining those two at the next meeting. So we'll be contacting the members, but I think more than likely we'll be getting back together in about a month.
We've all probably been informed. We don't have a regular scheduled meetings. It depends on when projects come before us, and Cindy or somebody, our staff or Sarah contacts us to see our availability. So we'll be hearing about probably the last week in September, I think we're looking at.
Yes, and we still have a couple housing projects that have received preliminary approval by the board that are still in line with THGA, the state agency, and we don't know if they will be approved this year or if they will slide into next year. THGA has been oversubscribed. There's so much demand for new affordable housing throughout the state that the state program does not have enough available for all these applicants. So some that have come before us on a preliminary basis may need an extension on into 22 because they're not going to be able to finish their projects this year. So it's possible we may have some of those coming back to us as the year goes on.
And Cindy, did I miss it in the email, but were there visuals available for these last two projects?
Well, Shell, you raise a good point because I don't,
I'm spoiled coming in with the whole COVID like internet Zoom thing. They had all those nice things and you could kind of get a grasp of what you were talking about.
Well, and typically what we've done, but that was a really great reminder with so many new members. When they come for preliminary, that's when they usually bring the visuals, and so most of these came before the newer members were on. So I apologize. We should.
I just don't remember seeing this one specifically, the one on
Yes,
Ford.
I had it on the screen. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You pulled it up on Zoom.
The pictures and
My
whatever.
COVID brain.
Yeah.
So, it's like right there off of
Yeah, like for that, I would have loved to see the campus and then see how that is going to be built and this is going to be demolished, and then it all makes sense. Like, oh, okay, then
It really
All of
helps.
these, all of these were brought before us 4, 5, 6 months ago. I guess this is where sometime in this year, earlier in the year, and they had to get approval. In fact, some of them might have been, or even last fall. Anyway, they had to wait till January before the Housing Development Agency opened up their pipeline to give approval for tax credits. That's what these finally got approval, and that's why these three were before us. We've given them preliminary approval. We've got, what, how do you think, 2, 3, 4 more?
I'd say 2 or 3.
2 or 3 others that we gave preliminary approval to over the previous months that are waiting, and as I say, may not get approved for this year, and so they may come back for us to ask for an extension or a reapproval that gives them another year. I mean, our resolutions say are good for one.
Usually it's to the end of that calendar year,
year.
and so because THGA has been oversubscribed this year, there's not enough of the program availability for all these applicants. They may come back and ask that we extend through the end of next year, so they can reapply to THGA next year.
Hasn't
THDA, excuse me.
No, go ahead.
It's not that THDA turned them away. THDA closed the door one day, and people were still sending in applications, so they just arbitrarily closed the door and said, we're not taking any more. So there were lots of other applications all over the state, including some of ours, that didn't get in the first 2 weeks, and THDA closed the door. So through no fault of their own, I guess is what I'm saying, other than not being in the first 2 weeks.
This is just a question, just out of curiosity. Has there been situations where we've given preliminary approval and denied the final approval? I'm just curious out of the history of the board.
No.
I mean, it would seem unlikely, but I was just curious if there
There
were
are a few that have
circumstances.
not matured onto.
Some never come back.
Really?
Some never come back because they
That's a
can't
little
get their
rare, too.
financing arranged, which is why it's usually helpful to come on a preliminary basis. Even Belmont, just so you all can ask all your questions, and if they need to come back to you with any additional information, just like Samaritan, that was a good example. Please bring back a representative to provide us more information. So.
And she was quite helpful.
Yes.
Okay, and you have the information items on reports from the debt obligation that were mailed to us in our packet.
They're not, I didn't see them in the packet.
Actually, you mentioned it. You're right. I read through this today. They were not in there.
Well, I have them here if you'd like to look at them.
Or we'll send them out.
Send them along, please.
I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah, ended at Shelby House.
Yep, you're right. I say that, but they usually are, but they were not in. So, okay, I think that concludes our business today. Anybody else have anything else? No, thank you all for all attending. It's great to have everybody in person in a in-person meeting. I guess we'll hopefully be able to continue this. Yeah.
It's great.
Please drive safely home. This
Started with the rain.
Lovely. And I gotta go pick up my baby. Pick her up.
Here you go. Perfect.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.